Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you for coming to our special Women Who Really Cook panel discussion on navigating the new normal. So as you know, this year has been extremely challenging, so it's more important than ever that we help share experiences with one another. So tonight we'll be chatting with 3 Women Who Really Cook members in the food industry, Ann Ahmed, Stephanie Hansen, and Sarah Hayden, to hear about their lives and how their businesses have changed since the beginning of the pandemic. And of course, moderated by our founder, Suze Ellickson. So today's meeting is a little bit different. It is also open to non-members. We think this is a pretty important topic and wanted to open it up to anybody who is interested in hearing about it. Our next members only meeting will be on October 20th at 10 a.m. with the Abundant Kitchen founder, Becky Melvey, who will be talking about her new cookbook. So if you are interested in attending that, go to womenwhoreallycook.com and join and or sign up. The info should be there by tomorrow. So anyhow, for tonight's meeting, it's a little bit different, you might have noticed, than our usual meetings. It's more of a panel style discussion instead of a regular Zoom call, so not everybody is on video tonight. So there will be time for questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, you can use the Zoom QA feature, ask questions of the panelists or Sue or anybody you want. If you're having any technical difficulties, please message Sarah Bloms or myself and we'll try to help you out as best we can. So this is our first time doing this kind of webinar, so feel free to send any feedback afterwards and let's see how this goes. So over to you, Sue.
Well, this is charting new waters. I think there's a, right on my screen, there's a, oh, they disappeared. There was a big line across my face. But anyway, welcome everybody. And we're so happy to have you take part in our first virtual Women Who Really Cook panel discussion. I think we're going to learn a lot from some of our members tonight that maybe you can attribute or take part in with your own businesses, because this organization was founded on networking, and this is what we're going to be doing tonight. We want to thank our board of directors and Loanne, the former director, Mokler, for helping us put all this together, and especially for Sarah Blons, we saw her picture earlier, and for Kelly, also for helping us put this computerized meeting together. We're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to learn a lot. So many of our members have offered their homes for businesses. Now you're going to be in all of our homes listening to the panel directors, panel people, excuse me. You can tell I'm a little nervous. I haven't done this before. So it's much easier to talk at a regular meeting when everybody's around you supporting you. But I'm going to start in by introducing our panels, and we'll go in alphabetical order. They're going to tell us a little bit about themselves so that we can know their background if you haven't met them before. Let's start with Ann Ahmed, my dear friend, who owns and is executive chef of Lat 14 Eatery in Golden Valley and the Lemongrass in Brooklyn Park. Ann, tell us a little bit about how you've been coping, or just tell us about yourself, then I'll ask the questions later.
Oh, so you want me to tell about myself? Talk about myself? Okay. Well, like Sue had mentioned, I'm the chef and owner of Lemongrass that's been around for a little over 15 years now. And Lat 14 just turned 2. And I'm a mom of twins, 6-year-old twins. And I'm very lucky that they are back in school full time. I just cannot imagine trying to homeschool and run 2 restaurants right now. So I'm very, very lucky that they're back in school and they're safe and things are good for now. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, we're going to ask you the question how you carry on with twins and 2 restaurants. Not everybody can do that, or not anybody, I don't think. Okay, Stephanie Hansen of The Weekly Dish on 107.1. She's a radio host and she has a podcast and does social networking.
Yeah, so hello everybody. Glad that you're joining us today. I have a radio show about Weekly Dish, and I think the way that I think about the pandemic as it pertains to the radio show was March, I believe it was 15th, 16th, I can't remember the exact day, but Mike Brown from Travail was our guest that day, and him explaining that they were closing the restaurant, that they'd been mandated, and he was scared, he was emotional, and we broke the news on the radio show. And I just have often thought back to that time over the last 6 months about what that was really telling us about where we were headed. So that was kind of my radio food life in terms of restaurants. And then in my own personal business, I'm an event producer. I produce markets, so farmers markets and culinary markets. And I do the Stone Arch Festival, a festival in Duluth, and then we're working with Seavers this year too. And right away, I started thinking about the festival, and I had 35 vendors signed up for the Stone Arch Bridge Festival in June. And that is about a quarter of my income for the year. And I knew that that was probably not going to happen. So that was a bummer. And then my other part of my job is social media. And I knew that if I do a lot of work with small businesses, and I knew that if that was a problem spot, that a lot of those businesses were going to not be able to pay. So I felt like in the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, all I did was I was on the phone 24/7 and trying to calm people, trying to figure out what was going to be next for myself. And it just took a while to sort it all out. And I think it's sorted out now. And I've gotten to a level where I'm going to have some loss, but not as much as I originally thought. But it's been really challenging. I think too, something that's helpful to know about me is I'm super pandemic prepared. I grew up in a family of alcoholics, so I am always preparing for the worst. And so I had the masks, I had all the stuff, I had all the food, my freezer was stocked. I was ready to go from like a personal perspective from my family, but not in a business perspective. And I don't think I could have anticipated how bad it was going to be at the time.
And it's pretty bad. It doesn't seem to be getting much better. Thank you, Stephanie. And Sarah Hayden, the owner and the producer and the everything for Sarah's Tipsy Pies. And I think she needs a lot of Tipsy Pies to keep up with what she's been handling lately. Tipsy Pies.
Any more Tipsy Pies. So hi, everybody. I'm missing everybody. So yeah, I own Sarah's Tipsy Pies. As Sue said, we pretty much do everything in-house. My crust is made at Gregory Foods, but other than that, we do everything. I guess when the pandemic hit, yeah, it was worried about I have 5 kids and a kid that just started college, and Maddie who has Down syndrome, and how that was going to change for her. And then we just opened up a cafe in Stillwater a year ago. This is actually the 24th of October. So I didn't know how that was going to change. I knew that the tables had to go away and we'd have to punt a little bit and see what happened, but it's been kind of exciting. I'm kind of a starter, so I like the change and I like the kind of the crazy. So it's actually been a little bit fun, in a crazy sort of way, I guess. So
Your life has been as tipsy as your pies, I think, lately.
right, yeah, I'm used to crazy, so it was just another level, I guess.
We can't wait to hear more of what the good things that have happened in this year, though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the questions, and I'll ask, and we'll go in the order that we did our little introductions. So how has your business changed during the pandemic? What have you had to do to change the way you were doing business last March? Let's start with Ann. And I know how you've changed. Your hours, your physical setup in the restaurants. So tell us how that came about.
Yeah, so a lot of changes every day, every week. It's constantly changing. But I think if we went back to, obviously the mandate was to close March, and then it took us some time to kind of figure out what we wanted to do. Was that because we can start with Lat 14. Lat 14, the way it was built and designed, it was never meant for takeout. It was not designed to have space or our food wasn't designed to be put in a box. So we really, really had to think long and hard about that. Are we going to compromise quality of our food? Are we going to compromise the whole intention of how the menu was designed? But, it's something that we didn't have a choice. We needed to open. We needed to get people back into the kitchen and into the restaurant again. So we did it. We went with it, and It was a little bit scary just because we've never done it in that space, but we knew that we could do it because lemongrass was around, like it was turning 15, and it always did takeout. We had this older sister that been through it before, kind of in a sense of like that whole takeout thing. So we knew that we had the support there and we knew we could do it. And then the other tricky thing was, we knew eventually that people are going to not just want to eat food in their car or to eat it out of a box. And so that's when we really thought about the tent, and we were like, okay, how can we get people to be comfortable when they pick up their food and their food is hot? And at first we were like, okay, if we put a tent outside, could be a picnic area. Grab their food from the curb, grab a seat outside under the tent, and but then once a week into that, we realized that's not what they wanted. They wanted full service. They obviously they still wanted you to keep your distance and whatnot, but they wanted to be serviced. They wanted you to bring them a glass of water. They wanted you to bring them plates and napkins and silverware. So it wasn't about like, here's your bag of food, go sit down and eat. So we had to change that real fast, and we weren't ready for that. We were like, okay, it was too scary because one, our employees did not want to come back, so we had a very limited pool of people that were working for us, and it was to the point where we were just running like chickens with our heads cut off because the tent was 30 by 60, so it seated another 80 people outside, and that was like with 6 foot distancing, so it was plenty distance, but then that was another problem we had. It's like it was like running a marathon every day. It wasn't like this closed confined space where it's like 2 steps we get to everybody. This was like literally everybody put on your running shoes, we're going for a long marathon for the next 6 hours. So, but yeah, every day was a different challenge. We knew that first week that was not going to work. We immediately like started calling people and went down the list of all of our employees, and it was like make it come back, and then at the same time we had to restructure. We had to restructure our whole system where this was not happening anymore. We were trying to make this change at the same time as and there was also things happening in our community, and so we had that as a backdrop. And so there was a lot of changes, and I would say the changes are still even today, it's continuously changing. I know that Sarah said it's fun and she's enjoying it, but for me, it's like, oh my God, I just want to pull out all my hair every single day because it's like, I can't keep pivoting. I can't keep changing. I'm exhausted. Now it's like, we have this protocol, we have this like of the plan of our plan that if we have a case, what do we do? Even with that plan, it doesn't work like it's supposed to, because not everybody gets sick the exact same way, and it doesn't happen on it doesn't happen with the same scenario every time. So even this plan that you had to have ready when you were reopening and you showed the health inspector, it's like, you can't follow that. You have to keep doing that. So every time we have a case, we're like, okay, we got to rewrite this. We got to edit this. So it's been exhausting, and I seriously don't know how long we can do this for. Like, as we're approaching these winter months, it's like we have conversations that we're like, okay, is it better to close? We go down the list. It's like, okay, which restaurant has decided to close for the winter? What's the reasoning behind this? What's the formula behind this? What's the formula we want to use? Because it is not going away, and as much as we're changing with it and pivoting with it, it's becoming a little bit too much.
Well, and what's going to happen in the winter?
That is the big $1 million question. I don't know. I really don't know. We thought we were prepared. We've been having this conversation in the middle of summer. We thought we were ready. The tent is going to come down. We're going to come inside, but the reservations don't show that, our reservations are not filling up. We're making reservations the day of and sometimes don't show up. And even when it's storming outside and we have the tent is down, but we still have patio with heaters, but it's not a covered patio. And it's like when they show up and we're like, okay, it's 40 degrees outside. There is a heater, there's a blanket, but the food is going to get cold by the time it gets to your table. Would you care to be moved inside? We have a table available. No, I'm not going to, So it's still a lot of different conversations that's happening. But like, feel
One
like
thing you did do a fabulous job this summer. I don't know if any of our watchers tonight have been there, but you would drive up and you would have a number to call, and they came right out with the food. So somebody that was never been in the takeout business did a fabulous job this summer. And we hope that there's ways that maybe we'll even learn tonight that there's ways to take it to the next level in the winter, because this is going to be a problem for everybody. So we want to get through by about 22:07 so that we can have people be able to put in questions of their own. So I'm going to have to cut it a little bit short. Anne, is that okay? And let's go on to Stephanie. And just to say the same question, Stephanie, how has your business changed over the, I know that you're doing things on TV now from your kitchen, which you weren't doing before.
Yeah. I became very good at my illumination, which, you know, I've had to buy a couple lights. I do a 2 times a month segment on Fox 9 with Jason Matheson, and I've had to pivot and figure out how to do that at home on my own computer. And that's been challenging but fun. I think for me, you know, Weekly Dish has been different because Stephanie is really focused on the restaurant scene. And yet there was this whole home cooking revolution that was happening. So I really filled in those blanks. Stephanie's Dish is my blog, stephaniesdish.com. And I started doing, you know, the sourdough starter and trying to think about what are we going to do with all these lentils and beans that we bought when we were pandemic shopping. We started a game that was called Cook My Pantry. So people would tell us, like, these are the things I have in my pantry and I don't know what to do with them. But from once we got past that, I think the longest lasting piece that's been difficult for me is I have this podcast that I'm in its 3rd year. It's called Makers of Minnesota. And I always have talked to people that are making things in the state of Minnesota. Food people have been really my sweet spot, and I've loved hearing their innovation stories and how they started their concepts or how they started their products. And the makers have really struggled because sampling stopped at grocery. They can get the orders, but then distribution doesn't happen where those products actually make it to the shelf. And like long-standing Minnesota makers have really been struggling to try to maintain their shelf presence, and grocery has just been swamped. Like I work with Lake Winds. I can barely even get them on the phone to talk about what we're doing each month because they are just swamped. I have a personal family in the restaurant business. So my brother-in-law runs the Texas Roadhouses regionally. So hearing about the restaurant plight, not only from like the perspective of clients and friends like Anne, but also in my own family, and hearing from my social media clients. Nordic Waffle was a client, and right away when the state fair went down, that's a huge part of their business, and they weren't able to continue to pay me to do the work for them. So they had to pivot to a grocery product and to do freezer. So it's been a lot, but I will say something that's been a bright spot is I was in the printing industry. I've been in the radio advertising industry, broadcast media. Hubbard Broadcasting sales are down 30% year to date. So it's really impacted not only the smaller makers, but all of the people that would advertise on their radio stations, their television stations. But what has impressed me the most is, I'm in the restaurant business. I'm sorry, but there's nothing like it. Like, you have a governor that tells you need to shut down and they figure out how to keep going. And then you have a governor that tells you the next thing and they figure out how to keep going. And I'm pro Governor Walz, I'm pro mask, I'm pro all of those things. But we put these restaurateurs in a position that no one has ever been in, and we keep asking them to reinvent, redo this, redo that. I am just floored and humbled at how many of our restaurateurs are still making it happen as we move into the winter after 6 months. I think it's going to be a challenging time.
That is true. But I'm glad you're seeing the light, because that's what we've got to look at, the good things that are going to happen. Well, Sarah, I know you have a new place, a new brick and mortar that's only a year old, and you have expanded incredibly in the last few months, because when you put on our website, Women Who Really Cook, that you are now in Cub and Hy-Vee, everybody was clapping. And it's a challenge, I know, but you didn't have the state fair to worry about this summer.
No, and I hate to say that, but we would have not been able to keep up if we would have had the state fair. So when everything kind of happened, it was Pie Day when we found out. And so we lost all of our catering, because Pie Day is actually our biggest holiday for baking. or for our sales online and corporate. So I lost all those, and then it just trickled down from there. And then all my staff quit. They all stopped working. So we really ran with just 2 people. And you have to remember, because the space was new, we only had like 6 tables, if that. So we just took all of our tables away, and we just punted. And you know, it is stressful, and I can't imagine owning a restaurant. You know, like Anne was saying, it's a whole different thing for me. I make make pies and put them in the freezer, and then bring them to grocery stores, or we sell them out the door. So it's different. It's probably a lot easier on my side to be, you know, a little bit more flexible with just trying to find something, you know, find new tricks to keep it all moving. But
How did you?
we're lucky with Cub. You know, Cub came in and said they wanted to support local, and what could they do? And you know, we got into 58 new stores. So we made typically for the fair we do about 14,000 pies, and for this order we did 26,000 pies in 5 weeks. So it was tough, and it was really hard, but you know, it replaced a pretty big chunk of revenue for us. Not quite as good as the state fair, of course, but you know, it kept my staff busy because we did get most of our people back, and then we had to hire new people because we still have 2 people that didn't come back because they're still worried about it. So I think for me, it's just, you know, it's just constantly punting and figuring out what's going to happen. And we had a patio as well, so people could be outside. But now that it is getting cold, even my 6 little tables, people are like, well, where are we going to sit? And I'm not going to bring the tables in, you know, or tables back. We're going to continue to do, you know, carry out, order online, come in, you know, 4 people at a time, and that's it. I have to protect that front retail spot because it did pretty much save me.
And are you still looking for a co-packer?
I am. So we had planned to launch savory pies this fall, but after going through the Cub orders, we realized that we cannot set up to fail. You know, we'll fail if we have to produce that much pie on top of the sweet pies as well. So we have been in search of a co-packer, and I think at last might be our saving grace. I'm hoping Friday we have a meeting with them. But you know, I have a small place. It's only like 1,200 square feet total, and so I have 2 big walk-in freezers, but it's never enough freezer space, right? You know, refrigerator, it's just never enough. So you know, that's kind of been our big thing too, is during all this trying to find somebody to make these pies for us, or the filling at least, just because meat is a whole different ballgame.
Well, that's what we're doing, is networking. So everybody that's listening, if anybody knows anybody, that would be a big help to Sarah.
Huge, yeah.
But speaking of help, I'm going to ask you all another question. Have you received any help from the food industry, or from even from other people in our group when you put things online to ask for things? Now, I know that Stephanie's just put out something that if anybody wants to be on her, did you see the thing on the screen? Sign up and she can help you with your market, with your maker's market. But Anne, how about you? Have you gotten any help from the food industry? I know there's a group you belong to.
Yeah, I mean, it's open to everyone. It's not like a group or anything like. It's the Twin Cities Restaurant Coalition, and it was it started, but you know, with Andrew Zimmern and Gavin. But it's open to everyone. It's you know, whoever wants to join it, and it's a great resource for all of us. You know, it just to know that we're not alone in this, and kind of what people are doing and what resources they have, you know, and what steps they're taking. By no means are we kind of like, you know, coming together and making one final decision for the entire industry. That's not what it's about, you know, and it's more kind of like just to, you know, like who we use and what prices we're getting on certain things, and during the riots and things like that, you know, a lot of restaurants needed help with boarding up their windows and kind of like, you know, keeping an alert on one another and what's going on. But you know, it's been really helpful, and it's, you know, it's a weekly meeting that we all tune in, and to kind of like, it's lately it's just kind of been open for us to kind of share our struggles, and you know, sometimes it becomes emotional, like just because we hear about each other's struggles, but at the same time, it's like we want others to know that, you know, they're not going through this alone, and that in itself is one of the best things to like, just be able to to know that there's somebody out there listening.
What about the restaurant, what is it called, the restaurant industry, the overall Minnesota Restaurant Association? Have they been helpful at all?
You know what? I haven't really looked into it. I'm sure if they have resources on their website and whatnot available.
Yeah.
You know, like every day, all we do is put our head down and try to get through the day.
And go to work.
Have time to look up resources, you know,
Yeah.
and sure there's more than plenty out there to help and want to help, but you know, it's just sometimes you just don't even have that time to look up resources. You know, you literally have
One of the things I think we should just throw out too, that, and Sarah has done that too, if you're looking for help and or you're looking for resources, and now you just heard about this thing that this organization that Ann mentioned, that's what Women Who Really Cook is all about. And we do have the website, it's all updated and people can put it on there. And I think in the past, people have gotten some wonderful resources just by asking. So I hope you'll do that. Stephanie, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, this is probably not politically correct, but I feel like this is a group of doers and people that really get stuff done. And I just want to say, I thought the Minnesota Restaurant Coalition was really lame. My talk reached out and we reached out to try to do some fundraising very early on for the Restaurant Association. And this is probably not politically correct at all, but they were like, yeah, we don't really have the resources to help you. And it's like, no, we're not asking for help. We can get listeners to give us money to help our restaurant communities survive and thrive. We just need a 501c3 or someone to produce the tax situation so that we can funnel this through. And they were just like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't help you. And I was so disappointed because that organization does have a lot of members, and there's members not just in the Twin Cities, but throughout state. You know, I knew early on that the Twin Cities was going to be impacted first. And then 8 weeks later, the George Floyd murder happened, which made everything a little more challenging. But I also have a cabin in Ely, Minnesota, and I knew sooner or later that those restaurants up there were going to be struggling too. So I was a little disappointed in that. What I will say is I think the Twin Cities Restaurant Coalition and some of these more grassroots organizations have really been supportive to their members, not only from just, you know, a revenue standpoint, because nobody's doing great, but they're really helping people to deal with their mental health, to get resources locally. You know, like Sarah's looking for a co-packer. I feel like anybody on this call that knows or someone that might be able to co-pack her product, we're going to help them. Like, that's what we do. We all pitch in together. And I just feel like, let's just call it out. Like, some of these organizations that people pay dues to haven't done a whole lot, and I expect more.
Good. That's interesting. And it's happening and they got to hear it. So I'm glad. I hope somebody will get the word right back to them. There's one more thing. I was just thinking about when you're out there and doing your businesses, is there any way that our organization can help as well, more than just putting something on the line? I know we're not going to be able to have meetings live probably for a long, long time, but supporting the cooking classes, which Kelly mentioned, we're going to have another one on the 20th at 10:30 in the morning, and some people may be at home on their own Zoom doing other things, but I hope that many of our members will sign in and then maybe get more members. We're always looking for more members to join as well. And I think that if you've got ideas, we're always open to them, and so it'll help us build us even a stronger organization. Both of the I'm just going to give this as a happy note. I don't know if you know that, but for years and years and years, Second Harvest Heartland and Loaves and Fishes was run by a male. Right now, there are two females that are running that organization, and those two organizations that are feeding the hungry, and they're both incredible women, and they've got joined together, and they're doing double the work and making food for the needy that is just up and beyond. And I know that one of them is a member of our group already. I hope she's listening tonight. And the other one I hope will join. So it's Allison O'Toole. And I always forget her name again. She's a really good friend of mine who can help me with that for Loaves and Fishes. She's come to many of our meetings. But anyway, the two of them are fabulous, and I'll think of it later. But let's go on and maybe have some questions from our audience now. I think that maybe that will be fun, and then I'll throw in a couple of questions at the end. How is that going to work, Kelly?
All right, so if anyone has questions, go ahead and type them in the QA or in the chat. And are you thinking of Kathy, Sue?
Kathy Mays. Thank you,
All right.
Sue. We just had too much in there and it's not coming out. So Kathy Mays, yes, with a C. Kathy, thank you, Kelly. She's the head of Loaves and Fishes and has just done an amazing thing. Talk about turning her work around. They never did takeout either, and now they all did sit-down dinners at churches and different community centers, and now it's all takeout from their farm, and they do dinners that people pick up, and I was in their warehouse last week. It is just amazing what they're doing for the community, all free for those who need it, and there's plenty of people out there that need it now. So any questions? Can they call it in or write it in like this? Stephanie just put something on. You
So you just go in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Q&A, and then there's like two little thought bubbles there, and you can type your question right in there, and then we'll be able to answer it for you.
No, I don't have that. Let's see.
You probably don't have that, Sue, because you might be like a panelist or a moderator, but the attendees would have that in the bottom right-hand corner. If you take your arrow and go down towards the bottom of your screen, you should see it.
It says leave. I don't want to do that. Is this, or maybe if it says more. For question and answer. I see that.
Can you see the question, Sue?
Yeah. Oh, Jill has a question. How can we as consumers, Jill Holter, hi Jill, how can we as consumers support your businesses? Buy food, yes. How can we love, support, and amplify? Who's going to answer that?
I mean, social media is one way to talk about the local people that you love and mention them in your handles. Also, local food initiatives where you can put more local maker-made products in your cart at the grocery store is important. And also, you know, thinking about where you're spending your dollar. Amazon is not a local company, Target is. So if you're a big grocery shopper and you want to have that big national big box experience, by just choosing Target, 30% more of your dollar is going into the marketplace of Twin Cities people. Also shopping co-ops and just places that are locally Minnesota made companies makes a huge difference.
Okay, Cindy Jorgensen has a question. Thank you. That was very good. Stephanie, good answer. My heart goes out to you and the businesses so very much affected by the pandemic. I do hope you don't have to close Ann. Oh no, Ann can't close. There's no way. We're gonna have to just go there and have meetings maybe.
You and I are gonna have a benefit just for Ann.
No way. I wanted to ask Ann, well, I'll ask her in a minute because here comes another question. We'll keep her open, right? Okay, Kelly McManus, innovation is the mother of invention. What is the most innovative solution you've seen to a specific challenge during COVID? Good question. Who wants to answer it?
I can just speak for myself, but Zoom has been incredible. You know, I have all this high-tech podcast equipment and I would sit across from people at a table and we would record things. I can do a podcast now where you're in your home and I'm in my home, and the quality is not like amazing, but it's definitely good enough. And so it's allowed a lot of people to have meetings, to be able to meet with their teams, to be able to continue to record. It's been a nice innovation.
Good. Here's another one from Lisa Osasho. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. What other creative ideas have restaurateurs come up with to pivot that you have seen? I know that, well, what Ann Ahmed had done, I was so impressed because when you drove up, you could tell that there's some thought. They weren't just scratchy signs that someone wrote with a magic marker. They were beautiful signs in her parking lot. And you would go up and call the number, and because you've already pre-ordered, and then someone would come out with all the hot food and put it right in your car. Sometimes it was even Ann herself. Then the next time we went out there, the back patio was open, which is beautiful with all her flowers. And then the whole parking lot was done with this beautiful tent, not the whole parking lot because you had to park your car, but it was this beautiful tent with this, I know it had to cost a fortune to get those huge concrete stands to hold the tent up, and then shades to keep the sun out. And it was just beautiful. And her help was really working hard, going almost through the bushes to get to the tent to do the service. But I know this isn't going to go on in the winter. You all know that too. And we sent out something, and Chicago did something where they were going to get innovative ways to do things. Well, the innovative ways are creative, but they cost a ton of money. And where would people get all the money? That's the problem.
A lot of you out there are in the catering division, or you are people that can do small in-person events. I would say one thing that I would like to know about is more caterers. We're getting a lot of people that want to have an 8-person, a 10-person, a 12-person, something in their home, and they want to hire someone to come in and cook something. And we just don't normally deal in that business. So if you're caterers, or you can do small events, or also large events like virtual events. I just hosted a cancer event, and they had boxes delivered to everyone's home from Cafe 421. Any of those kind of innovative opportunities, this is the time to reach out and let people know what you're doing, because people are looking for that.
That was one of the first things I did, because I thought about all the graduates, and we bought these cute little individual boxes, and we just said, we'll do whatever it takes for you guys to celebrate, because that's how we celebrate. We celebrate with food, whether it's pie or, you know, meat or whatever. So we did that right away. And we've done a couple fundraisers now for Jack's Basket and the Down Syndrome Association, where they had the boxes that they sent out. So we made cookies one day, and we stopped just making pie. We have to make what people need. And I think that's the other thing is that to be flexible and kind of get out of your own way sometimes, and to evolve your process and your, what you think you should only do, do the other things, I guess, as well.
That's
Try.
what Cheesecake has done now too, Sarah.
Yeah.
She's starting to make other things, like somebody needed bars and brownies, and she added that to the thing. So it's expanding what you have to meet the needs of the people. And many fundraisers are doing that too, using like the boxes, like you said, and also using the restaurants. We're just doing one for the cookie cart, and we've got like 20 restaurants that are doing dinners where people will pick up the meals at the restaurants, and then we'll do a video about the cookie cart while they're having the dinner parties. And they're having like 2, 4, 6, or 8 people, not big dinner parties, but it's a video, an audio video pickup, but they were still involving the restaurants. And we've asked all these restaurants, and not one of them has said no. So it's been really, really exciting. Thinking out of the box, that's what we got to do. Gabby Mays just said in something, how can she help with the restaurant scene? Anybody got any ideas how Loaves and Fishes could? If Kathy, could you come on and say, do you have some ideas as well?
Using product that is there that restaurants aren't able to utilize is a huge benefit.
Right.
It was amazing how fast Chowgirls and Brasa and Tim McKee and some of these folks mobilized and started feeding all of these people during the pandemic. We are going to see hunger in our community like we've not seen before. And without Second Harvest and Loaves and Fishes and these types of folks, and frankly, the restaurants that donate product to them, that's how these people are getting fed. And they're making it simple. They're making it easy. They're making it no questions asked. We're seeing people drive up to get meals that have never done this before.
Right, exactly. Now here's something that was good, Stephanie. Sheila Mullen just wrote in, have you thought of meal kits with your best-selling menu items, coupled with a Zoom cooking class or something like that? Sheila did a couple cooking classes on our website on WWRC, and it is fun to learn on the screen and make it at the same time and then sit down to dinner. But having meal kits is a good idea and many of the restaurants are doing that. It's sort of a takeoff on the box things that you were buying at the supermarkets from the restaurants. Kathy? Oh, Gabby Mays, don't you want to talk? The product that you're all giving is amazing. She said.
Do you want? I can click on allow to talk if you want her to answer.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I just did. So then she can chime in here. You'll just have to unmute yourself, Kathy.
Well, hi, Sue.
Hi, Kathy.
Oh my gosh, I'm sad that you forgot my name, but I also know that
You'll never let me forget it.
1,000 things on your plate, as I do as well, and we all carry platters. You know, it's just interesting as you have come into also the nonprofit sphere that you've connected amazing women that are doing great work, the for-profits. And how do we connect ourselves and make certain that all people are fed? And so that's your bridge, and that is your that's going to be your arrow to make certain that Sue Zellickson is always remembered. So the question is, I think, how do we connect a little bit more quickly and not monthly or bi-monthly?
Well, we're trying a little bit with the cooking classes, but those wouldn't just be classes unless we add on something to the cooking class that is more active with the group. Is that what you're saying? That there could be more coalition with the group rather than just taking a class?
Well, or just, you know, Stephanie says, I'm sitting on a pallet of something and Second Harvest can't take it, but Lowe's, would you take it? Just being a little bit more proactive on food.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could say to Sarah, I'm sitting on a ton of chocolate chips and they're free. Do you want them? You know, so, and I don't know how to make that work.
Well, we could be the conduit.
Is there like this might be too much and people could opt out, but is there a text? Like I have a family text for the 12 people in my family that has been really helpful during COVID. We've talked more than ever. Could there be like a just family text resource, or, you know, that if you want to opt out, you can, but for those that are interested in quick help or need support right away.
Sarah, is that something that could be done?
Yeah, I mean, there's even some ideas happening in the chat right now too, is like private Facebook groups or a Slack channel. So those are definitely things that we can talk about, because often we try to push people towards the forum, but that really only gives an email out to everyone. And it'd be nice to kind of have a quicker response, more of a conversation response with somebody. So that's something we can definitely look at and try to move forward quickly.
So Sarah, that's, I think what we're seeing is that it's quick. It's like 9 a.m. I've got a pallet of chocolate chips and I know a bunch of women that could cook with whatever, or flour, whatever it's going to be. Or you say, I'm sitting on a pallet of shrimp. I have no idea what to do with, but I think I could feed the poor. And so Loaves and Fishes could take it and we would be there in a nanosecond. And maybe that's really simplistic, but it's really important right now.
So how would you divide it up, or know that it was going to the nonprofit or venue rather than just being used in a restaurant? I mean, it's got to be, we have to have an organization then that's tied into you. Do you know what I'm saying? It can't just be anybody.
Hey, Sue, if I have a pallet of chocolate chips,
Yeah.
we could freely gift it.
You could gift it. Okay. To just have a business. I see what you're saying. I understand. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I understand. So it's not just all.
We don't want waste, right?
No.
Sue, we don't want waste.
No, I always say that years ago, Second Harvest all went into the feed the pigs instead of the people. So
wasn't that amazing during the George Floyd murder and uprising and community gatherings? I just was so impressed and amazed. And it first happened to me personally with Jametta Raspberry, who was catering. The people that were reaching out, that were getting Venmo donations, that I was giving her money. She was taking that money, she was buying produce and meats, and then she was going and she was feeding people in the community. Like the speed of which all of that happened was amazing, and has left me thinking about the speed of which we move. So Kathy, your point is a good point. Like sometimes, you know, we just need to be there faster, and we have all this technology. How can we do it to move it along faster and not worry about, the scarcity as much as the abundance.
Well, Stephanie, and it's also the connection. So it's who you know, it's how fast you can move. We are now partnering with Urban Ventures down right off of Lake Street with their kitchen. We're going to be cooking off a ton of food, and all of you women have got to come down and see that. And that happened in a nanosecond. And so I think that we have to be smarter and faster, a little bit more nimble. That's what I've learned through this.
Could
And
we,
so,
could we have a meeting there, Kathy?
what's that?
Could we have a meeting at Urban Ventures?
We can have a meeting there and we can socially, physically distance.
And then learn what they're doing and how our members could connect and help as well, which is something
Absolutely.
another thing we could do. I just got one funny thing you said to get with it and think of different things. Lisa Osako, I wish you would pull it so we could hear you talk, because she came up with a good one. How could technology like drone delivery be used in the future? What do you think? I think that's thinking out of the box, that's for sure. I don't get an answer from anybody. Is anybody there? Hello?
We'll have to wait on the drones.
Okay. The drones-
I catered for some people. They were engineers and they used drones to drop off pies. That's the coolest thing ever.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that funny?
Did it work?
It did, yeah.
Wow. And it wasn't expensive. It's better than getting a truck, maybe.
Well,
Kathy, maybe that's a way you can start delivery.
yeah.
Well, any other questions? I think we've opened up a lot of doors here.
There was one more question I can in the chat
Okay.
that I can read. Farmers markets and seasonal events have been a great way to connect with customers for our business. We tried a virtual market over the summer, but it didn't seem to work. Are the markets talking about resuming small socially distanced in-person markets, or will these be on hold?
I can probably speak to that a little bit. I produce 3 markets, so Stone Arch Festival, Culinary Market, Seavers Fall Festival is doing a small market, and Art and Bayfront Park in Duluth is a market. And I just have to call out Frank and Ernest with the Linden Hills Farmers Market. My friend Libby Wyram has done an amazing job of trying to connect farmers with community and people that want to buy their products, but it's super challenging right now because there are a lot of restrictions. The park board, which governs a lot of these places that we have these markets, they're not really eager about issuing permits. We are just really wait and see. You know, June is when Stone Arch Festival happens. It's usually the start of the farmers market season is usually like 3rd weekend of May. And we're all just wait and see. I don't think we know yet.
Well, now, Stephanie, the Mill Market was doing a great job this summer. They were spacing their people and you could order ahead and they would tell you to come by yourself. I mean, they had a lot of rules, but if you went, it was really well organized at Mill City Market down by Augusta. And they spread it out down the streets and to places that they hadn't been, so it wasn't as crowded. But if you ordered ahead, you could pick stuff up, and you could just still. It was funny, but they said don't come in a crowd, or don't come. Leave your husband and your kids at home. Come by yourself. But it did work this summer. I think it's still going on for a few more weeks.
But Stephanie, this is Kathy Mays. You know, all markets. So this was a startup market. It takes time. You know, you can't just go out and say that you were not successful. You have to let people know that you're there and that you're going to be there. So it's much like our dining sites and our takeout sites. You know, you have to have some sustainability. And if you just think that you're not going to be successful from the beginning for a couple of times, it takes time. It takes sustainability and it takes confidence.
I will say too, a company that's local, Minnesota Ice, they're actually doing like the old fashioned Iceman delivers kind of concept. So if you're someone that has a product or you want to get your product out there, connect with Eric Eastman. They're going to do that throughout the winter months. So they're going to be delivering lots of products. I would imagine that Libby Wyram at Frank and Erdis is going to keep doing that too. I'm trying to think of people that are going to be open during the winter months. I suspect that the Golden Fig will probably try it. She's in St. Paul. She's a retail location, but she's got a lot of resources in terms of clients that come to her for things. So if you're interested in trying to figure out a way to get your product out there, reach out to me. I'll try and find some people for you.
That's great. That would really be helpful. So let's use our website to do that, both with the Golden Fig is fabulous, and she's been a member since the very beginning, and she's always willing to help. So I think that would be a good idea. Let's make a list of this stuff and put it on our website. And I wish there was a way, and that our website would come up more often in our faces, because I even have to look for it and sometimes can't find it. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's a project we can do so that we can get like the weekly dish, Stephanie, we can have a weekly report of things that we've all learned and want to share. And maybe that would be a good end of this first, the first, what do we don't want to even use the word pandemic, but the first the panel discussion. And how do many of you have ideas? Would you like to have some more of these panel discussions, learn more about our members, as well as, this is sort of an in-depth thing about our members, and then of ways to share things as well.
Sounds like a Facebook group might be in order.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
That would be good, yeah, to expand to the Facebook. That's thinking out of the box and taking it to the next level and finding things that will work better than having the meetings. But I think it would be fun to go to Urban Ventures and see how we could connect with that, and maybe even have a meeting at Loaves and Fishes as well, because what they're doing there is amazing and so different than years ago. Any other thoughts and ideas, or anybody want to share anything? Are there any more on here? Questions and answers. I don't see any more. Did you get any, Sarah?
I'm just getting a lot of people saying thank you. And Luann is asking Anne, how do you have a white couch with 2 6-year-old kids?
A huge dog too.
Dog is not allowed on the couch.
Oh.
And the kids are not allowed outside of their playroom.
That's not true.
Yeah, so having a kids' playroom really helps. They have their own space. So we have our adult space, and they have our.
She's a good mother and a good restaurateur. Just one question for you, Ann. How is the other restaurant doing? Now that one you said had takeout. Is that doing well?
It's doing okay. I think the struggle with the Brooklyn Park location is that it doesn't have any patio, and lost a lot of business when patio season opened. So then they went somewhere else. They went to a place that had a patio. So we lost business in that people weren't ready to dine inside yet. And people, would take out, what I saw a lot in the last few weeks is that people really wanted to maximize the good weather. So instead of doing takeout, people were trying to get reservations on a patio because they knew that, the winter's coming and that would be kind of like their, last dining experience for a while. So I had a lot of guests come in saying that, this is going to be our last meal until this thing is over. So.
Oh, I know. This is the winter. If only we could change the weather. Why don't we get the weatherman involved in this solution? Because maybe it will be, they say it's supposed to be a warmer winter. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So this has been really exciting. And I thank you all for taking part in it and giving up your whole evening for us and being on the panel. Wise and wisdom was passed through here. And we do have some fabulous members of this group, and hope we can make it more of a networking group than ever, even though we're thwarted by not being in person. The other place, we'll work on some of these ones that maybe we can go to in the next couple of months and see if we can get part of the system. If people have questions, we should have maybe a question box like we were having tonight. People could send in ideas or questions too, and just do these things in different ways. So I hope many of you will sign up for the cooking class, and maybe Kelly, we could do a little update before the cooking class. And someone asked if this is going to be taped and we can find this again. Is that possible?
Or this discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, we have recorded this. I just don't know what we're doing with it yet, but we'll make sure it's okay with everyone before we do anything with it.
Good. Okay, that is terrific. Well, thank you for the three wonderful panelists, and also to our board of directors for putting this together. And we found out there's a few silver linings after all.